But you know what's in, okay, yes, then let's definitely talk about this, because I'm curious of your perspective on this. As I do see and believe that there are a lot of, from my understanding of what Ra is talking about when reading the transcript, that, and now if people don't know what we're talking about, so we should probably brief them on this for a second. But I'm just going to quickly say this, that there are fourth density beings that, are incarnated in this 3D body, but their consciousness has expanded to fourth density, perhaps even fifth density, even though they are human. So you're saying like perhaps the souls of those 3D beings, maybe in their next life, or are you talking about like being a light body? Does that make sense?
Yes. I'm actually going to do the next Law of One episode on this topic of, Ra calls it wanderers. It's just the name he chooses, but most of us are familiar with the name starseed, which means, a higher density soul, which has chosen to incarnate in a lower density world to be of service by bringing a higher frequency. So like the idea is that all of our souls are frequencies in consciousness based upon our current level of consciousness. So somebody who's very unevolved, you could say, will have a kind of a chaotic, low vibrational frequency. And so that energy actually will affect, depending on the person, affect their environment. So like we all know when somebody walks in the room and they're super, pissed off or really depressed or something, we can feel that energy, right? Well, that's because that's their native frequency in that moment, right?
Yeah.
So a fourth density soul might choose to incarnate in a third density world, even though they've already been through third density. But Ra talks about this concept a lot in the Law of One, that our third density experience that we're currently in, also because it's the density of choosing which polarity you want to serve, the light or the dark, it's a really powerful catalyst for growth.
Yeah.
So because there's so much catalyst here. So Ra describes catalyst as, the challenges of life, the difficulties, suffering, those kinds of things. Contrast, you could say. The more contrast we experience, the faster we evolve, because the more we're suffering, and the more you suffer, the more you desire to be free from suffering.
I got chills.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Well, like your story in particular, and just most everybody I know, when they have that moment, Eckhart Tolle, for example, they have that moment of severe suffering where they almost don't want to even exist or be here anymore. And for whatever reason, that triggers it.
That's the moment of breakthrough. Yep.
Yeah.
So a fourth density soul would come to serve, or fifth density, would come here to not just serve, but it's kind of dual. So it's helping them out because it's helping them to evolve much faster. And it's also helping us out. So it's like a 2-for-1 type of thing.
Always. And then at the same time, because this is all happening at the same time, we can get super complex. And that is one thing that my mind, when I first would read this, I'd like, what? This doesn't make any sense. How did this already happen? Okay. Densities. We might as well brief. We don't have to fully talk about it. You have an episode on it.
Skim over it.
I have an episode on it, but we can maybe do.
You did an episode on it?
Oh yeah.
I gotta check that out.
Feel free.
That sounds exciting.
And it's about an hour long. Heads up.
As it should be.
More. As it should be. I mean, as podcasts go. Plus, I ramble a lot, so whatever. But that's just me. Whatever. Okay. So if we were to sum it up, just first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Should we do that really fast, just so people aren't like, okay.
Yeah. First density. So the densities are basically like, you can think of it as like grades in school. So consciousness is locationless. So these aren't, people get density and dimension confused, I've noticed. Dimension is quote unquote a location, you could say. Like if I go to another dimension when I astral project, the astral plane, you could say, is another dimension, right? But a density is not a dimension. it is a stage of evolution. Go ahead.
You could tell that I was about to say something. Yeah, well, the thing is, there is a difference. It's so subtle, yet at the same time, I feel like it's very similar. You know what I mean? Because yes, it's the consciousness is the density, you know, where your conscious is evolving to. But at the same time, let's say you're walking in the fourth dimension. This is also where your consciousness lies in that moment. Does that make sense? And in a sense, and they're very similar with their progression.
Yeah.
So
dimension is like how we operate in space and time.
Yeah.
So that's why Ra does have a few passages where he says, "Oh, we exist." I don't know if he names what dimension, but fifth or sixth dimension. So he says, "Thus we are able to be with you at any time." So if I have a piece of paper, a two-dimensional paper, let's say a two-dimensional character on that paper needs to travel the distance between this part of the paper and that part, right? But I can just touch whichever part I want, and they would go, "How are you here and there simultaneously?" But from the third dimension, it's all available.
That is I haven't read that. That is the best analogy, though. I love that. Oh my gosh.
It's a great analogy.
Ugh.
So in that same sense, so apparently, I don't know if this is true. It's always abstract for me, but the fourth dimension is time. So let's say that's true. The fifth dimension is something we don't understand because our physical body doesn't operate in fifth dimension yet, but our consciousness can become aware of fifth dimensionality in certain ways, but that's not the same thing as saying density or fifth density. Like fifth dimension and fifth density have no actual correlation. Right. So the density is the stage of your evolution. You could say the level of awareness or level of intelligence of your individual soul unit, you could say, of the source's consciousness. So the idea is that the source wants to know itself, it wants to experience itself. So it splits itself off into infinite different little pieces and starts from the ground up and evolves through the entire spectrum until it finally merges back with itself. So it experiences the totality of what it is through this, innumerably long billions of years of evolution. So consciousness begins at first density, which is the four elements, essentially, earth, water, fire, air. So, think about when planet Earth first came into existence. It spent, I don't know, like 2 billion years or something as rock and magma and water colliding with rock and volcano eruption and air and wind, and these four elements interacting, and that friction eventually created chemical life, and then microbial life, and then plant life. So as it evolved through the friction, consciousness began to evolve into the second density. Second density would be like growth and movement. So anything that can respond to the environment. So like a rock can't respond to the environment. In a sense, it is the environment, right?
Yeah.
Fire can't respond. It is the environment. So a plant or an insect or even an animal would be second density. Now, an animal is the very latest stage of second density. And like a microbial organism would be like the first stage of second density. But it's there's awareness, but there's no self-awareness.
Yeah.
So then we get to third density, which is self-awareness.
Well, in the higher stages of second density, it's funny how I bet at their level, they just feel that they need to explain it in this linear fashion for our human minds to comprehend.
Right. But it's all a spectrum.
It's all a spectrum. It all just somehow, flows together.
It moves together seamlessly.
Yeah. But at that second density, because wouldn't monkeys kind of be considered high levels of second density? Or because they do have the ego, they do have the self-awareness, they would be in the third density, lower end.
Dolphins.
Yeah, dolphins.
Elephants. There's lots of animals that exhibit traces of ego. Where you could say we can observe traces of suffering. When I say suffering, I mean psychological suffering. Obviously all animals feel pain if they get eaten or something.
Yeah.
But like, it's actually really fascinating to watch like an antelope or a zebra get chased down and eaten by lions, because there just really is this moment of surrender where the animal, okay, I got caught. I'm not going to get away. There's 5 lions around me. So it just lays down. And it's not squealing to its death. And why is this happening to me? And I should have done better. It doesn't experience those thoughts because it doesn't have that mechanism yet where the mind has sort of flipped in on itself and become an object to itself.
Yeah.
Which is what we call ego, where I understand as a concept that I exist.
Yeah.
Now, all sentient beings have the innate I amness. There's an innate knowing of my being, right, of my existence. But when the conceptual understanding happens, we could consider that third density. So like a dolphin or an elephant, you could say, or a dog, could potentially,
for sure.
For pets for sure, like the latest possible stage of second density, because we give them names, so they develop a concept of self. So they might be ready then in the next incarnation of that soul to incarnate human or wherever else in the universe there's third density, right?
So that's true.
Yeah, not just Earth, but anywhere.
Right.
So third density is self-awareness. Now, third density, where we all find ourselves now, is also the density of the choosing, Ra calls it, where we choose the path of light or dark. And both are equally valid from the universe's perspective. It doesn't push you in any one direction. It wants total free will to let you choose. So it's really kind of depends on how you want to handle or respond to your suffering.
Yeah.
Right? The path of darkness uses suffering as an energy to go in the direction of selfishness and self-serving, right? So I use my anger as fuel to take it out on others, and that kind of enhances my sense of self. And so down that road, you have the negative path, quote unquote. And then if you choose to respond to your suffering by transcending it through universal love and oneness, you've chosen the path of light. And so the way Ra explains it is that you have to make, your consciousness has to make a certain choice where you at least become 51% or more positively oriented. But to follow the negative path, he says you have to be 95% or more negatively oriented, which sounds a little weird, but go ahead.
Oh, no, keep going. I
was just going to quickly explain the reason for that is because you could think of the positive path as the path of harmony, unity, balance. And so the negative path has to be the polarity of that, right?
Yeah.
So it can't also be the path of balance. It has to be the path of chaos, the opposite of balance and harmony. So it's a very high entropy state of consciousness. So because of that, there has to be an extremely high degree of devotion to sustain it, because it's, in a sense, a lot more work, you could say, to sustain a negative orientation.
You got to be dedicated to yourself. You gotta be dedicated to yourself. What's really interesting is that, even though it's really hard for our minds to conceive of this, but it does make sense in a sense because the creator does want to experience it all, is that neither is wrong or right. Neither is better or worse, because there is a reason for some humans to go down the path of self-service.
Right.
And for whatever reason, the creator wants that some of those beings to exist, apparently.
Well, think about it this way. There's 2 ways to know what foods you like, right? You can just taste foods you like and go, I like that, I like that, I like that. But you get a completely different perspective or appreciation for the foods you like when you eat a food you don't like.
Yeah.
You can think of it as the creator sort of taste testing all these different, and when it tastes something negative, it goes, ooh, bitter. Oh, I don't like that. But it is necessary because it wants to know itself in every possible variety. And so one of the ways of knowing yourself, knowing what you're like, is to experience what you're not like.
Yeah. And then you really appreciate what you like when you experience what you don't like. Yeah.
So it's a different angle.
But then, the creator gets kind of over it in 6th density, and it's a little hard for, but we're not there yet.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. And that's not really the case. But yeah, negative entities have a little they have a harder time because I mean, there's just an overpowering social gravity of love.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
But we haven't even talked about the 4th and 5th yet, so I'm getting ahead of myself.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves on these densities.
That's what I do. Who likes linear stuff anyways? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So just then real quick, 4th density is the density of love and understanding. Mm-hmm. So consciousness becomes self-aware in 3rd density, but it still has a sense of separation. Oh, I'm over here, you're over there, we're separate. And that's all where the ego comes from. So 4th density happens once you transcend the illusion of separation and basically realize you're in a dream. But when dreaming, you are everything in the dream, right? Mm-hmm. The dream is happening in your mind. So 4th density intelligence recognizes this and recognizes the causal link between you and I, that I cannot do something to you that I do not do to myself. It is impossible for me to cause pain to you that I don't at some level also experience. And likewise, if I love you, I also experience that love. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you and I must be one, because what I do to you, I do to myself. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's 4th density. And we see our planet moving, our species moving into 4th density now. Yes. There's this huge awareness, right, of oneness and connection, and we're saying, hey, let's love one another, social justice reform, There's more awareness of the suffering we create, factory farms and slave trading and all this stuff that before was covered up, that sort of the internet and connectedness has exposed, and consciousness is saying, hey, we don't like this. So that's a sign that we're moving into 4th density. And apparently, according to Ra, the 2012 shift was actually our planet shifting vibrationally into 4th density, meaning that, you could say 51% of the consciousness on our planet was 4th density oriented. So therefore, the whole planet now becomes hospitable to evolving 4th density bodies, which would be the green ray body, which is more of a light body. The heart. Yes. The heart body.
The heart chakra. Yes. And more beings are shifting their consciousness, expanding their consciousness into the 4th density, which is so beautiful to see. For example, I mean, perhaps let's say Mama Gaia wasn't quite there yet. Perhaps Mama Gaia was like, or Earth, perhaps Earth was like, still living in that 3D, and it wasn't going to happen for another hundreds of or so years, I would probably still be, I don't know exactly, but maybe you wouldn't have had that great awakening from your Christian religion, or you would have, but had more judgment upon them because there's nothing wrong with it. And same with myself with Mormonism and Christianity. And so it's just interesting to see all these people that are now like, okay, so yes. And even some people still like to label themselves as Christian or whatever their religion is, but at the same time awakening into this like, oh, wait, maybe there is more to life than what I have been told. And also, oh, wait, maybe really all humans are equal. And all sexualities should be treated equally because there's a reason behind it. There's still some religions that need to catch up with that, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to kind of end up being evolved out of existence,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But I think that's still about 100 years away.
Yeah, at the most. I mean,
it is rapid.
It's so rapid right now. Like you go to any church. I mean, when I was a kid, there was tons of young people in church. I remember. Yeah. And you can't go to a church now where you see more than, 10% of the people there are under the age of 30. Young people aren't going to church anymore because a lot of the souls that are incarnating are more 4th density.
They're older. Yeah. They've experienced it. You can tell
so when it just doesn't resonate.
Yeah, it doesn't resonate. Yeah, Gen Z already naturally woke.
Exactly.
All right.
Jay-Z spirituality.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing that you talked about, actually a few things. Oh, we didn't finish 5D and 6D. I'm the best.
Okay, I'll just glance over it. Fifth density is the density of wisdom, where love becomes balanced with wisdom. Like, for example, the propensity to be a martyr in fourth density, I'll give my life for love and compassion, is actually seen from fifth density as being not very wise. Because it's beginning to see all creation as accepted, and like even if someone is in suffering, doesn't necessarily mean I should infringe on where they're at.
Yes.
Necessarily not meaning they don't still help those who are suffering, but there's this much higher reality that's seen of the kind of the umbrella level of creation, of everyone's where they're at. They need to experience certain things. So kind of like a parent to a child, you don't always want to rescue your child from the hard lessons. Right. Whereas fourth density just has this overabundance of compassion and just wants to serve and help.
Yes.
Right.
Where it's almost like it's so overzealous, you almost lose yourself in a way. Like what your human self also needs. Your human self also needs some love from you.
It sure does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not to say that fourth density beings are like out there, letting themselves get killed for no reason or whatever. But there just is that propensity when there's that much love in the green ray.
Yeah.
They can easily become that way. So fifth density beings spend a lot of their time alone, in solitude and contemplation and feeling the love of the creator. Now, also to be said is that in these densities, they're much longer than third density. Like fourth density is like 30 million years on average. And I think Ra says in one passage, each incarnation is like 90,000 years. So they live a lot longer because the bodies that you're incarnating into are much higher vibrational, more light bodies. So they need less food. They're less dense than this human meat sack, which needs food every 2 hours. So they live longer. So learning psychic abilities, they're learning things like telepathy. They're growing into the abilities of consciousness, teleportation, being multiple places at once. All these kinds of things happen through these densities. And so fifth density becomes very powerful in the psychic ability, extremely intelligent. And then sixth density is the density of unity, where finally love and wisdom have been perfectly balanced with one another. In perfect harmony, which is also why the negative path can't sustain their growth past sixth density, because there has to be an equal amount of wisdom and love for consciousness to progress. So this is when you get the group soul effect, or a balance of it. So at this point, there's no more individual consciousness souls. It's all a group soul. So consciousness merges together through the gravity of love, and that's what the group soul is. Or this is why like beings that are channeled, like Abraham Hicks or whatever, they always speak in terms of we, Bashar, we and us, and the plural pronouns, because they're speaking for thousands or millions of individual entities that have merged into one larger entity. So that's sixth density. And then seventh density is the gateway density, which you're kind of one step in the creator, one step still in manifestation. And so not much is known about what seventh density is like.
I guess Ra is still trying to, or has an idea, but doesn't fully know because hasn't experienced.
Hasn't been there.
Seventh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll keep going.
I was just going to say that higher density beings are very hesitant to speak about things they don't have experience of.
Makes sense. I mean, that's their wisdom kicking in right there. They're like, I know not to go there.
Yeah.
Unlike you humans.
Like you pathetic little humans.
Oh man. But okay, so one thing that's interesting though is that there are those that have selected or chosen the negative path, the self-serving path, who are living in 4D, even though and I actually learned this from you on your channel, they skip the heart chakra or something, yet they do still, according to Ra, they still experience the fourth. But they're just, it's a very narcissistic experience.
Yes.
And that does fringe upon other people's free will and just, their own experience as well. And then, so how do they graduate though from the 4th to the 5th if they're supposed to learn love and understanding in the 4th?
Right. So the love that a negative entity learns is extreme narcissism.
Okay.
It's
so
extreme. It's not real love. It's
right.
It's the polarity of true love, which is like selfishness.
Okay.
Serving myself at the cost of you rather than serving myself by serving you.
Yeah.
Because all service is self-service, right?
Yep.
Because what you give, you receive. So the 4th density is basically narcissism, and then of course learning the powers of consciousness that are available in 4th density. And so once a certain level of intelligence is reached, or wisdom, you could say, then they become capable of incarnating into a 5th density body. And so apparently it really is, there's like a restriction on what you can do. Like you can't just go from 3rd to 6th density, because it's all about like vibrational states. And so like, so a higher vibrational being can incarnate into a lower vibrational body.
They can.
You can, yes.
Yes.
Because you've sort of passed that stage. So that's not going to affect you. But if a 4th density being tried to incarnate into a 5th density body, so their soul frequency isn't yet harmonized with the evolution of the 5th density body. So there's a disconnect there, or a chaotic frequency that happens. And so essentially they wouldn't live very long. They wouldn't be able to sustain life in that body. And that's also apparently, Ross says, why some children just, either die in utero or after birth very quickly. So some of those cases are because it was a lower density being trying to sort of skip too far ahead.
Wow.
And they just couldn't quite sustain existing in that kind of a body because of their frequency. Wow. So they go back, oh, let's try that again. Not ready for that yet.
You have listened to these sessions, 160 or so sessions, 3 times or more, yeah?
Yeah, 3 times.
So each time, do you gather something new every time you hear it?
It's like I've never listened to it before.
Wow.
That's how fresh it is.
Wow. Whew, yeah. Raw.
Amazing.
Amazing.